Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 3, Weight of Truth. Thanks everyone for being patient. I know it's a little bit later start than we expected. Just had some last minute things coming through, but the 999 Army is here and in full effect. I was reading through a couple comments and did want to highlight some things. So warning, do have to tell everybody if you're watching this broadcast, we will have some spoilers, some predictions, all mixed together, obviously with a couple of theories that are out there. We're not necessarily here to debunk a lot of them, but we do want to analyze some of them to see if it really makes sense with what we're predicting. And we're going to add on to what we talked about a little bit last week. So I want to start out just with a comment. And this person, and this has been a pretty common comment that I've been getting over the last probably week or so, when people are really kind of coming to terms that Andrew's leaving the show, and we're not even in October. But this person wrote, I'm a fan and will keep being a fan no matter what, but I feel like the show is done when Rick leaves. So let me say this. First of all, if you're a fan, and if everyone feels like that, the show is not done. So if all the fans feel the same way, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's almost as if you're like, I want to like the show, but if such and such over there doesn't like it anymore, then there's not as many people liking it. The show will go on, and if you are a fan, you are going to drive that. That's what makes it or breaks it, right? So if there's enough people that feel that way regardless, stop worrying about what other people are going to do, because other people should not dictate your enjoyment of the show. You should dictate your own enjoyment of the show. So I know it sounds like a rant, and it seems like every time we do a broadcast, we start going down that direction. But tonight we are going to talk about some things that are being rumored. I know Rick is flying around. He's taking his break. They are still doing a little bit of filming, but the rumor is that Rick is done after 5. Very possible. But it doesn't mean that he's done after 5, because they've done 5, a little bit of 6. They filmed some stuff at night with Rick. And what we're going to talk about is what we think is going to happen in 3 and how we're going to build up to that Rick exit. And the exit is going to happen one way or another. So that is not disputable. That is not debatable. But, some people are going to fly home. Some people are going to take a break. But keep in mind, Rick is going to be at the Andrew's going to be at the San Diego Comic-Con. So him flying back for a few days before, they get ready for that stuff, to me doesn't say anything. It doesn't say what's going to happen. I've also heard that there's some leaked script out there, but I have not seen the script, and there's some very reputable spoiler sites out there that have not posted it, so I'm going to say that that's just, it's a little bit of BS right now. All right. Let's get right to it. And in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some potential storylines. So if you are regular here, you know how we do it. If you're new, chime in. We're going to call on a couple people, get your comments included. You can see Cammie right there saying, I will always love The Walking Dead and fear The Walking Dead. And your comments will stream along the side, but I have been known to call on a few people. Hippo, can you just spit it out? You've been hyping us up for last. Come on, what is the Hippo H-bomb? This is a worse cliffhanger than season 6. If you got it, share it. I know Hippo has been doing a little bit of 999 Army promotion behind the scenes. All right. We'll see if he posts anything, and then I'm going to move on. All right. Well, let us know when it's done. How about that? And then we'll see if it truly is awesome, because you've been hyping it up. It better be awesome at this point. Okay, did several videos earlier today, 2 actually. How many people got a chance to see the hidden clues I talked about a little bit earlier? Because we are going to touch on that a little bit. If you haven't, it's fair enough. But I do want to bring in some of the references, because I think the writers are going to go old school on us. And there's going to be a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of things out there. All right, so that will be a little bit of a topic because there is this. Let me pull this up really quick. And this is from Spoiling Dead's fan page. So I'm going to... There you go. Should be up on the screen now. Two of the things that have been leaked on Spoiling Dead fan site is this picture of it's a prop of a white horse, and yes, we can see a little bit of blood there. That's got people freaking out. And of course the windmill. And the windmill is, the real meaning of the windmill is they're building up the communities. However, windmills are very symbolic. And I think the white horse, I made a point with the white horse with Rick, with also the windmill. The horse Rick is riding in the pictures is not a white horse. That's why this prop, I think, is very important. It's either something that is symbolic to Rick, or it is something that he will either see the horse, he'll try to save the horse. Maybe all life is precious. I mean, maybe Rick is sacrificing himself for more than just people. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but especially the problem that I have with this and what we're hearing right now is that at some point Rick will be surrounded by walkers. I don't think Rick will, with Judith in the mix, I don't think he's going to give his life for something other than Judith. And I don't think Judith is just going to roam into a field of walkers. So to me, this seems like it's a little bit more symbolism. So we'll get back to that. I'm going to move away from that picture just for a little bit. All right, we'll get back to the Rick scene. So episode 3, remember, we don't want to go too far along into it. But by episode 3, this is really what's going down. And let me kind of recap. So this is what we know. Ezekiel and Carol hit it off. Ezekiel almost dies in episode 1. There's also the deceit that goes on in episode 1 with Gregory. Episode 2 is going to be the Maggie public execution of Gregory. And then we move to 3 after that happens. And I know a lot of you had said we're not really sure how Rick's going to feel about that. I don't know that that's going to be the thing that starts to distance them. I do think it is going to pile on a little bit. But Michonne pays a visit to Jesus and to Maggie, and that's where she finds out that they've been stocking up on supplies. And this is really where I think episode 3 is going to start to get a little bit darker. I am going to predict, because there was some filming in episode 3 with Michonne, with Daryl, with Rick, is I'm going to say that Daryl pays Rick a visit after Rick finds out, and we start to see a little bit of a standoff where Daryl's still not happy about the fact that Negan's locked up. He's probably going to give him some terms and say, you want things to be distributed equally, you want this to happen, give us Negan. So I think right now what Maggie is doing is she's not killing them, but she is using that as leverage to get her hands on Negan. And I think Daryl is going to be on board with that as well. So I'm going to kind of leave it open to get some of your thoughts and get some of your comments. As far as a Daryl, Rick, Michonne possibly laying that guideline out. They give us some alternate solutions, because we do have to start ramping it up, because, by 4, 5, 6, that's where the heavy interactions are going to start taking place. Well, I think before anything escalates, Daryl is going to want to give Rick the the opportunity to do something without conflict. So, several things simultaneously going on here. We also know that the groups are looking. They're looking to expand communities. So I can see these two leaders and passing the baton at some point from Rick to Daryl, of this being that moment that we go back and look at it and say, all Rick had to do was sacrifice Negan, and he wasn't willing to do it. Now, that's important because Rick could still be taking that stand that Carl made this all about. Maggie, I don't think Maggie is going to be at a point where she's executing people other than Gregory. But you know how, hey, shoot somebody, put them in a box, send them back to Negan. I don't think we're at that point. But I do see Maggie using the food as a leverage and as a resource. Then Daryl goes into deep depression. So Trish83 says, I can't picture Daryl turning on Rick completely, especially if he takes over the leadership of the group. Well, we're not at that point yet. I don't think we're at a point where it's going to be all-out betrayal. But I do want to say that the one thing that we got to be realistic about it is there isn't the right or wrong that there used to be. Daryl went through a lot. And the reason I chose the title that I chose, The Weight of the Truth, is I think we're going to start to see all those lives that Rick affected. And they are going to come back to him. And these relationships are important. And he's been very dishonest to himself. I know it sounds very cliche. But I don't know if Rick Grimes knows who Rick Grimes is. He knows something that he feels like he's supposed to do. And he's led by the legacy of Carl at this point. Where other people, they're seeing what's going on around them. I don't know that Rick has that ability right now. He's got a prisoner, and he feels like it's the right thing to do. I think Daryl feels like, this guy killed my friends. This guy will never change. This guy tortured me. He tried to break me. And it is that important to Daryl. I'm not that far, Sergeant Chosen One. You got to give me week to week. I'm just trying to get through episode 3 right now. I love Cat Nat's interest in episode 5, but we have to get through 1, 2, 3, and 4 before we get to 5. And if we want to make that bold prediction, there's no problem with making it at that point. But there's a lot of other things that have to go down between that and now. Other people, other stories that need to be answered. So one of the other things that has been rumored to be out there is that while Maggie is halfway starving the saviors out, that there are saviors dying mysteriously. Now, I have not confirmed that, but these are things that I'm starting to hear, which does not bode well for Maggie. Here, you know how some of the worst situations on The Walking Dead, or even in general, can be created by a misunderstanding? If Maggie already has some animosity and Daryl is right along with her and they want Negan, and then these saviors start to either disappear or die, the blame could fall back on Maggie, and Maggie in the Hilltop could be falsely accused of things that are happening via other groups. I want to analyze that for a minute, because I do think that could be a deep storyline and could take us in a lot of different directions, not just what we expect and what we think we're going to see. Also, I want to give a shout out to Valar. Thank you so much, Valar. Just saying hello to the 999 Army, Kill, Steph, Kels, Emmy Bree, Sweet Tommy, sponsors, Patreons, and Super Chatters. So thank you and appreciate you being here. We started a little bit later anyway, Valar, so you only missed a little bit. So Adam, that's a very possible scenario that Rick, if we're on board that Rick dies. But if we're not on board that Rick dies, then he could still take an alternate path while protecting Negan. Maybe not physically protecting Negan, but saying this is not, if I can't make this, if society can't accept this, then there's no point in being a part of this society. There's too much risk at this point. So here's what's going down right now. You've got Alexandria, which has been rebuilt. You're going to have Rosita, you're going to have Rick, you're going to have Jadis, you're going to have Negan's there, Eugene's there. Then you got the Hilltop, and the Hilltop is probably the primary source of supplies. They got a jump on everybody else. You've got the Kingdom, which the Kingdom at this point appears to be middle ground. I don't know the Kingdom's openly out there taking sides as this starts to escalate. And then you've got the Sanctuary, and the Sanctuary is probably in the worst situation of all. The Sanctuary, they weren't growing a whole lot of stuff. They were relying on stuff filtering in from other communities. The Walkers completely overran it. It's in rough shape. And they're probably at the mercy of everybody else, and Maggie knows that. Right, Fluff. So that's kind of that's the direction I want to go with it for episode number 3. So think at this point, deceit but not complete rebellion. And blame. And some of the worst situations have escalated because of misunderstanding. So I could see this Rick Maggie thing really starting to get out of control. So table that for a second. It's also likely that both Rick and Maggie will leave around the same time. So what are the potential ways that goes down? And if we think about that, I think we can fill in some of the blanks between 3 and 5 and 6. One of the predictions we had made is perhaps Maggie dying and Rick leaving with that responsibility. And I still think that's very much in play. But I do feel like both are leaving the show, that not necessarily death's linked, but could we have it wrong? I'm going to throw this out there because we haven't discussed this. Could Rick die and Maggie leave with baby Herschel? All right, we're going to open that up for a few comments. And then I want to talk about a couple other stories that could be tied in between 3 and 4 and 5. Lakeisha says she'd never make it. All right, you should still have sound. Okay, will we start to see the flashbacks in episode number 3? And do you think it's going to be Shane? You think it's going to be other people that are involved in the flashbacks? Right, Trish. I mean, I think at this point there is a lot of hope. There's no doubt that we want to leave the door open for Rick to come back. Just reading through a couple comments here. All right. Let's table that for a second then. One of the storylines that I think are going to be very, very apparent is, and this was validated through Skybound, the group is not only looking for new communities, they're also looking for, they're scavenging. They have to go out and scavenge, and there's rumors that they loot a museum, so they could be scavenging. I don't know if it's going to be Smithsonian, but they're scavenging a lot of different areas. So you could get up to D.C., you could get into the Chesapeake, you could get into parts of Maryland, you could get into Southern Virginia. Richmond is rumored for Magna and their group. So, are there groups out there? This is the gray area that we want to bring up again. Are there groups out there that either Jesus could roll up on, Aaron could roll up on, Rick, that don't want to be found? We are naturally assuming that the Whisperers are just going to attack. But could our group do something that is going to provoke them? Go silent here for a couple minutes just to get a couple comments up there, and then we'll fall back and address that. We still have sound. I'm just I'm scrolling through and checking a couple of your comments. We did not go anywhere. Tina says, since Henry's set to take Carl's part, could that be Henry meets Alpha's daughter? I just have a feeling that this Henry and Daryl storyline is going to take off. I think they're going to give them bits and pieces of the Rick Carl story, but not full scale, not to a point that it's going to mirror the comics. So Backfire says, or another group does something to the Whisperers and Rick's group gets blamed. Hilltop does something, Rick gets blamed. Maggie could solve it. So, I mean, we are, based on the comics, assuming that the Whisperers are going to come out and they're just going to go guns a-blazing. But it could be something that stirs the hornet's nest. And that's kind of the part that I want you to sort of dig into. All right. I'm waiting on something to come in, so I didn't want to do this in this video. All right, here we go. I'm gonna go on record with this. I hate to do it in this video. If you guys want it, if you want the Rick story, then just type it, and we'll get the ball rolling on this and let people start to deal. Okay. I'm going to wind the stream down a little bit. If you guys want I'm going to give you the news, and then we'll do a therapy video in an hour and a half if you guys want to do it. So, warning, spoiler, we're going to go ahead and say I'm waiting on one more confirmation. But yes, it is now being confirmed that Rick will die in episode 5. So I am going to, we're going to let that digest a little bit. I do not, when more information comes available, but this is a very reputable site putting their reputation on the line by saying this. So we'll deal with it, and but yes, they are confirming script, they are confirming pictures, they are confirming that it'll be a herd. Nope, walkers. So let's right, Red Razzle. Yeah, this is we got to wait all the way till October, but this is pretty devastating. Yeah, definitely that changes some things. Yeah, I'm kind of speechless. It's I had some messages coming in, and that's why we got a little bit of the radio silence throughout there. We started out the stream a little bit late. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to confirm it until we got additional resources that were saying this is legit. Um, wow, this is pretty crushing. No, no confirmation of Maggie in this scene. I I don't know what to say. I really it's going to start to spread like wildfire though. That's for sure. Um, but being confirmed at this level is I don't. I mean, there have been fake spoilers out there before, but this is yeah, this is at the highest level. So I don't think this particular person would would not be forthright. That's why I wanted to. I've been texting back and forth like during the stream. You know, don't put me on the hook for this. Um, but yes, and then it's been corroborated by multiple people, so that's pretty upsetting. Chosen one, I'm going to say it's not. I will tell you that there are three people that usually send information. One is fairly new, one is anonymous, and one is a and I will divulge that later on. Um, let's wind the stream down, and we'll do a I'll do something in about an hour, and we'll get back together. We'll talk about if you guys are around in about an hour, let's talk about the death of Rick Grimes, and I'll officially announce the spoiler site. And on breaking CNN news, LeBron James is going to the Los Angeles Lakers. So, wow. In one stream, I find out that Rick Grimes dies and LeBron James is going to the Lakers. Unbelievable. All right, everybody. Yeah, let's take about an hour. Let me sort this stuff out, and then we'll resume the stream. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you in a bit. Peace.